Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to episode number 40 of the Developing Dads podcast. It's amazing. We're at 40, Neil. Almost like we're approaching. I reckon in 3 months' time we'll have hit a whole year's worth of podcasting. So people could listen to people in their ears, our lovely dulcet tones for one a week for an entire year. That'd be amazing, wouldn't it?
Yeah, 40 sounds good.
Do you think the regular 2.5 listeners will have been a bit more excited about that introduction compared to your last sort of 2 or 3?
I don't know. You get excited at every number you say. So
it's because sometimes it's like, you know, when you turn around to someone and say, I did something 40 times. I think that's quite impressive. Do you not think that's quite impressive?
it is. And then when we can turn around and say we've done a podcast for a year, every week for a year, sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, but it is. It's kind of like, I don't know how many people do, 40 things straight for 40 weeks. Apart from obviously eating, probably shitting. But then sometimes if you're constipated, you don't do that 40 times, do you? And if you're good, you brush your teeth 40 times in a year. 40 times in 40 days, 40 weeks. But no, it feels good that we've managed to get to this type of milestone at 40 episodes. Today's discussion is going to be about sort of how decision making has changed since we've become dads. This was kind of spurred on from a conversation I was having when I was in filming for a day with sort of basically a lot of people that I was surrounded by that day are kind of unencumbered young men who, and women to be fair, who can wake up whenever they want, generally speaking. They can go to bed whenever they want, generally speaking. They can also get absolutely rat-arsed and not really have any consequences apart from feeling sorry for themselves. So I was kind of like talking about that, and we were talking about the idea of kind of, if I make a choice decision now, does that affect my other thing that's maybe more important? Like you're constantly making those types of decisions now, whereas before I was just like, yeah, screw it, let's go for a beer, let's have 7, and I'll wake up the next morning a bit bleary-eyed and bushy-tailed, But that's for later on in the pod. As always, Neil, would you usually start with a nice little rendition of how you're getting on? I must say, we did start today's podcast. Well, in fact, the past 3 weeks or 4 weeks of podcasting has been quite difficult, hasn't it, Neil? It's been quite challenging to get these underway, just from various issues. Like we've had some technical problems, and then we've just got busy. Like this week, I'm particularly busy, but I'll get into that. And then my microphone didn't work. And, as I was trying to fix my microphone, we kind of sit on our riverside. So if you can watch us, if you don't know, you can watch us on YouTube. But yeah, I was asking Neil, how is he? And now apparently we can't have a conversation unless it's being recorded. So here we are, Neil. We are being recorded. So I could ask, how are you?
I'm feeling good, in a particularly good mood.
Did your weekend go well? Or your date night on Monday?
Did I have a date night on Monday?
Yeah, you said that Rebecca. I was like, let's do a podcast on Monday, and you were like, no, Rebecca wants to hang out with me, and I said,
yeah, that wasn't really a date night, but we just watched we're into Game of Thrones now, the Game of Thrones series, not Game of Thrones, Lord of the Rings.
Oh,
excellent. So yeah, but yeah, this week it's been, I don't know, work's been rewarding. Payday was today, which is always nice, and I did something that I've never done before.
Payday was today? What, mid-month?
I know, it's weird. I don't understand.
You get paid mid-month?
Yes, I get paid mid-month. Weird.
All right, carry on.
And yeah, so in a previous episode or 2 episodes ago, I mentioned I got a promotion, which was comes with a pay rise. So just seeing that, like, the new figure was really nice. And I decided to do something nice with it. So we took the kids to get an ice cream. And there's more to it than just getting ice cream for the kids, to McDonald's nearby. And there's this young guy that's, I don't know, maybe a few years older than me. His name's Mikhail now. Anyway, I saw him. He sits outside Tesco begging for money. Don't really know his story. But I saw him kind of packing up and walking across the road. And he walked past us. And I stopped him and was like, look, we're waiting to McDonald's. Can I get you something? And he was really, really grateful, blah, blah. So I ended up getting him a Big Mac meal. And yeah, just I don't know, in that moment, I don't know why I chose him and why I did it there and then, but yeah, felt really good, felt kind of quite warm, and obviously the kids were around me and stuff, and yeah, it was just a nice thing to do, and I kind of hope to do that more. And it's not like I haven't had money to do it, so I don't know why in this moment I decided to do it here or there. But yeah, I felt quite good after it, and he was obviously delighted. So that was that. Last night I went out for drinks with a couple of colleagues. Craig Mackay, who's CEO of the company I work for, he made a dig and said that he's still not been on my podcast. So I think he's keen.
It's Craig? I've met him, haven't I?
Yeah. We went for beers.
In this special episode, haven't we suggested that one should be his appearance?
It is, yeah. So I did mention that to him, and he's still keen. I just hope diaries will align and he doesn't get booked out for something. So yeah, he's coming. So I was out with him last night, and I only had 3 beers, but I woke up feeling pretty rough. Was the beer off? Who knows? Was I dehydrated? Don't know. But yeah, so I feel feeling a bit fuzzy today, but it's been good. Anyway,
every podcast you've come on so far, Neil, you've been either a bit hungover or tired, or you've been moaning. What's wrong with you? Like, you're telling me you're really happy and you're having a great time, and every time you come on the podcast, you're just a moany old man.
I know. I kind of started off saying I'm in a great mood, but I am in a great mood. I'm just I don't know, slightly hungover.
I find the story quite interesting about, giving to effectively beggars, right? That's kind of what he's doing, and I don't know if it's right or wrong, but I think begging in the UK is illegal. It might be, might not be. I think it is. But, I find it difficult to do it. Like to give money or give things to people who are, on the street doing something. Because I don't know, on both sides, I don't know why they're there. Why are they there because of their own terrible actions? Have they, caused themselves to get into this situation, and has it been a circumstance that they couldn't, foresee, or, things happen, right? People die and lose homes and get depressed and don't get any help from society or whatnot. But equally, people commit crime and perform actions that are essentially to the demise of their own sort of circumstances. So it's kind of like, where's the toss-up? Where do I sit on that? I don't know. Do I agree or disagree with sort of handing out things like that to people? Maybe not. I don't know. Again, I just kind of, something about it sits somewhat okay with me, but somewhat uneasy at the same time because of those factors.
I definitely see what you mean, and I don't know, I'm more warm towards him because he was of similar age to me. He was Eastern European. I have no idea what his story is. I'm just thinking out loud here, but could he have been a refugee? Could he have been from the Ukrainian war? Who knows? But he didn't look like a heroin addict. He didn't look like... Yeah, I don't know. Maybe he's got a funny story, who knows? But it felt good. I see what you mean when you walk past somebody and it just looks like if you give them 10 quid or if you give them a fiver, they're probably going to just spend that on drugs. That's why, A, I went for food, and B, he wasn't the type of person, I don't think, to do that.
And then you've got to ask the question of are you then complicit in their homelessness? So if you think that they're going to use that money for drugs, then that just continues the cycle of addiction, and the addiction that's potentially causing or certainly contributing towards their homelessness. It's that's where I'm kind of I don't know. I don't know where I sit, because I think I've done it before where, I don't know, someone's sitting outside Pret, or I think we were in America at one point or somewhere like that, and there was someone homeless, or I think I was in Aberdeen as well. It was like a winter's day and it was snowing outside, and there was a guy sat outside the Sainsbury's, I think it was, or a Co-op or something. I felt really sorry for him because it was very cold, so I tried to get him something hot, but there was only the cheap sort of croissants at the end of the day available. So I think I've done things like that. It's not to say that I haven't. But again, it's kind of should we not just be giving to charity more, or paying more tax that contributes towards more social care, trying to help these types of people through the means of effectively organizations and charitable things that will be able to distribute the money. But then you can go down the routes of effective altruism, where I've listened to quite a bit from a guy called Will MacAskill, who is, I think he's like one of the youngest ever associate professors or something at Oxford University or Cambridge University, and effectively kind of like helps found or is head upping this kind of effective altruism type of charity, where they look at the assessment of the effectiveness of money. So if you pay for something like malaria nets, for example, that saves more people's lives for the money spent than, I don't know, something else that's equivalent to it. So should you actually spend money there? You know, if you spend money trying to save someone in Africa, of that £10 you've given to the person that's on the street that sat there, realistically that doesn't go very far, and it doesn't necessarily save many lives. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, you go down that route and you think, well, you know, is this then, Neil, just a selfish act where you wanted to feel good and look good in front of your family? Like, do you know what I mean? I'm not saying you did that, but maybe it is.
I mean, going back to your point, is I saw where that money went. That was like an instant gratification of, I've just spent £6 on this meal. Every pound that I've spent is going 100% to him, or to an extent. Like, obviously, McDonald's take a cut and all that stuff, but
yeah, I know. I don't want. I'm not trying to chop down what you did. I think what you did was very kind, and it's very good of you to do that. But then again, you know, I could even argue that £6, if you put that into Isla's ISA, and you give it to her in 11 years' time, that £6 might be worth £100. And that might have more effect on Isla's future, because she's able to, like, I don't know, pay for something, or she can give that £100 to charity, and that might be more effective. Like,
you're taking the whole.
It is like it's a wide thing, and I think it's a really interesting topic that, you know, I'm kind of exploring in my head now, but something I have thought about, and whether or not, because again, it's like, you know, you want to raise your children in a way in which they're charitable, right? Not just with their money, but also with their time to help people and whatnot. But at the same time, I think I have like a business entrepreneur mindset of a kind of conservative political view, where part of your circumstance is your own doing, you know? So I don't know.
This is going quite off topic, but we sponsor a child in Africa every month, a sum of money, and every month, or every 3 months, I think, we get like handwritten letters back and photos of her and her going to school and stuff. And Isla's got like I'm not going to say a relationship, but Isla draws her pictures and they get sent out to her and stuff like that. So yeah, like we try and do that aspect of things as well, because people in those kind of developing countries, these kids, it's not their fault that they live where they live and they don't get any education and all that stuff. So yeah,
it's brutal. There is I can't remember the thing it's called, but if you go and watch an Ali video, it's to do with Will McCaskill. He has something to do with this, I think. But you can call it something called, I think it's giving the pledge or making a pledge, where you basically pledge to give 10% of your income every year to charity, and it goes to a specific charity. It was similar, actually. I don't know if I discussed on the podcast, but I filmed Ali's brother's wedding. His wife, Ali's brother's wife, she runs a charity, and I donated the fee that I would charge for my videography services. I donated it to this effective altruistic charity that assess the neediness of certain charities. So, you know, they need money, they need it to treat certain things or solve certain things, and I donate it to that. So, yeah, I definitely look into that. I think that's a good way to do it, because sometimes, you know, you look at the effectiveness of things like Oxfam or the Red Cross. You've seen the controversies in the newspapers and all that kind of stuff. You know, this effective altruistic charity might not necessarily, you know, send tactile things like letters backwards and forwards and all that kind of stuff, which is obviously very nice to receive because you're getting something essentially for your money. But it might actually be putting money in a place that's probably better, or is more likely to be better, I'd have thought. So this is like a podcast in itself, isn't it? Talking about like charities and your kids, and how do you teach them how to be, you know, charitable, and how do you help them make rational decisions about things and all that kind of stuff. But I guess that's maybe for a different podcast. But yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, how's your week been? Busy.
Yeah.
Freelancing life.
Yeah, these past 2 weeks have really kicked in. You know, really, really kicked in. And like I said, I think last week I said that it feels like the ball started to roll again and it's moving forward, and, you know, I'm developing that level of purpose and whatnot. because the first sort of 6 to 8 weeks, I was just kind of, swilling around in a bit of self-pity and, just kind of like taking my time and letting things happen. And it's also about nurturing, like part of the service industry, as you well know, managing clients is about a relationship-based business, right? It's about talking to people and touching base again. And that just takes time. It takes time to get things going again. So yeah, in effect, I'm busy. Like, I did 4 full days of filming last week. I'll do 4 or 5 this week. No, 4 this week. The business that I'm invested in is doing a hypertrophy camp weekend, so I'm up filming, taking pictures for that. But then also I've got to film a bodybuilding show on Sunday. So I guess, 5 days to some extent, but 4 full days. So I've got to edit that video, send that video off. It's been approved. Then I've got, next week is 5 full days of filming. So that's Monday to Friday straight. It'll be long days, 8 to 10 hour days. So that'll be tough, but, I'll take it. It's so it means that this month's intake is good, real good. So it means that
but I guess you just need to find that balance of spreading it out.
It is, yeah, and it's not so much like the spreading out bit. I get it; it's just part of the way that freelancing works. But the problem that I'm facing is that I really want to work on my YouTube channel. I really want to work on something that is sort of future based, that can, not from a passive income perspective, but replace that need to accept jobs, right? To say, hey, Gordon, can you film for 5 days next week? And you'd be like, nah, because I've got a YouTube channel that's making me £100,000 a year. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then I can choose when I want to make videos and whatnot. And I'm also quite excited about the fact that I'm kind of building a YouTube team out a little bit to get me accountable, but also to get me better at making the videos. So my YouTube process is, in effect, I write a word-for-word script. It's about a certain topic. Obviously, I research it and whatnot. I then send it off to a researcher, and that researcher basically confirms my biases to some extent in terms of what I've written. So I know the kind of like I reckon I know what the paper is, and I've maybe read it, but I just don't have it anymore. Like I've not linked it. So they check it out. They basically source some interesting things, help me fluff out the script a little bit more, and then I flesh it out again, and that's going to become a script that I'll film. And what I'm trying to do is get like 4 ahead. So if I get 4 scripts, I send them to the researcher, they look at them all, I rehash them, and then they're ready to film. Because the teleprompted versions of these take minutes. Like they literally take me, once I've set up the camera, I could probably film 4 videos within the space of about less than 2 hours from a teleprompted perspective. Then also the script allows me to create B-roll. So have you ever watched like Matt Diavella?
Yeah.
So basically I just want to do fitness for dads, Matt Diavella style. So
nice.
There's a bit of graphics, really cool cinematic B-roll, because I can do all that, right? So that's the plan. And I've also tried to contact a motion graphics artist, because that's the thing that I'm kind of lacking in from an editing experience perspective. So hopefully I can get in touch with them, because I've worked with them before on a couple of other things. And I think they're in India. So yeah, that should be good. So I'll be doing that this week. Managed to finish another script today, finalised another one, and then the one's been sent off to the researcher person. So Jono, shout out to you. Thanks very much. You met Jono. It's Jono.
Oh yeah. What's he? This is going off topic now.
He's doing his PhD in Sweden.
Well, I'm still doing it. It's probably like 5-6 years, is it?
It's been 5 years since he started his thing, but they get paid in Sweden, so he's quite enjoying that. But either way, he's helping me out, so he's an absolute legend. I really appreciate his time. So he's helping me out with that. Then I've got this thing the weekend, so I've got the hypertrophy camp, and then a bodybuilding show to do. I'm trying to think what else I did this week. Beyond that, I can't really think. Olivia's like kind of just amazing. Spending lots of time with her, really enjoying it. Got a bit of time at home today and tomorrow, so I've been kind of like working on my own stuff and my own things. So that's kind of what I've been trying to do. And that's kind of it, really. That's kind of my week.
Nice.
It's pretty much got my hair cut. Can't really see it because I got my headphones on, and you're looking rather fluffy in the hair.
Yeah, I need to get my sides faded in a little bit.
Not by mum.
No, that's a good few years ago now, Gordon.
Okay, because you're a 31-year-old man and you can pay for it yourself, can't you?
Yes, I can.
So
anyway, let's dive into decision making as a dad.
Yeah, it's kind of the whole decision making thing. I kind of just wanted to see how it's perhaps changed over the time that you've obviously experienced time for 7 years with Olivia, with Isla being your daughter, and then your son's coming along. But I was talking to a young chap at work yesterday, and we were kind of talking about the idea that decision making is it's kind of easier, but it's certainly more defined now for me. So, for example, it would be a case of, hey, Gordon, do you want to go for a drink after work? And I have to then decide if it's a drink after work, it's kind of usually okay because Olivia's going to be asleep and I'm going to see her anyway. But let's say it's a case of, hey, Gordon, do you want to go for lunch in the middle of the afternoon when I could spend an hour, or maybe it's a Saturday or something around that. And basically it's a choice of, is this thing better than spending with Olivia and Laura? And if it isn't, why am I making that decision? How am I making that decision? It's one of two things. If I'm spending my time doing something else and it's not with Olivia and Laura, then it has to be better or more fruitful, surely. You know, like work for you, for example, me going to film something, if I'm recording a podcast, if I'm, working on a project, if I'm seeing a friend that I haven't seen for a while, it has to be more fruitful. It has to be better. So I was just quite curious about, when you first started becoming a dad, or you were a dad, have you changed your mindset, certainly from when you were younger, where you would kind of just do whatever you wanted, whenever you wanted? It didn't really have any kind of if, buts, or maybes. If it felt cool, you just go and do it. You didn't really think, oh, no, I can't do that because this would be better.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's definitely an aspect of just process, or almost going through a workflow. So if you imagine it on a whiteboard, like you get invited out for drinks, or invited out for an evening meal, or a weekend away or something, then I don't know, my thought process is, and I go to Rebecca first. I don't know why this is, but I'll be like, I don't know, has Rebecca had a really hard time at work, or she had the kids like for a week non-stop, I've been away? Then if so, maybe I've got to say no. If not, then there's a potential I can. But I always ask her first. So I always kind of get her, not necessarily get her permission, but I say, do you mind if I? And we're both like that. Gordon's eyes are lighting up when
it just sounds like you're whipped. That's why, Neil.
Whipped or respect?
Hey, you decide.
Yeah, I mean, it's working out for me now. Anyway, so we've both got that mutual thing. So if she wants to go out, we'll ask each other, is it okay? I mean, I'm sure, Gordon, you must have that. I don't think you, unless you just say, I'm going out.
Yeah, it would be rare. Like if it was a work thing, and maybe sometimes I like kind of brush over or basically call it a work thing. But if it's a work thing, certainly when it comes to freelancing, I think Lauren definitely understands, and hopefully she does. But I think we've been together for over 7 years. That if it's a work thing, it's going to get paid, or if it's associated with a work thing, it's likely to get paid eventually. It's the same as when I made a decision to purchase a very expensive camera. It was like over $3,000 was a really expensive camera I got, and I got some lenses and stuff with it. It was a very expensive investment, but that investment has ultimately laid the groundwork for what I do now, very much so. So I think Laura's has confidence in the fact that when I say it's a work thing, although it may on the surface, what do you mean you're going for coffee, or you're going for lunch, or you're doing an activity that's ultimately fun, or it certainly comes across as fun because I do enjoy it.
Yeah, no, like
that it does pay.
Yeah, like last night, and I've said this in other podcasts, that I'm a firm believer in networking at work. And if that means going out, getting shit-faced, and it means a promotion in 12 months' time, then go and do it. But I don't know, I put my career down to saying yes to pretty much any social event that's with colleagues. And generally it's short notice, but sometimes it's been planned. Last night was relatively short notice, but when the CEO of a multi-million pound global company says, do you want to go for a pint? I'm not going to say no. So I'm getting to back to my point is decision making. I guess you've also got to think of like the bigger picture. Like if you make this decision now, as in if you're going to go out, then could that pay you back in that relationship in months?
Yeah, but
time?
usually in that case, it is, unfortunate for some circumstances. If it's a relationship investment that you know is good for you, so that can be the CEO of a multinational company or whatever else, but it can also be a really good friend, right?
Yeah, I should caveat, because I know Craig does listen to these sometimes. I really enjoyed Craig's company. Was it just because he's sitting as CEO?
I might just cut that out and just add like a beep over just have Craig and then a beep. But the thing is well is like it's about investing in the right relationship, because I have found myself certainly now saying no.
Yeah.
Like for example, sure. I would have had like a random request, be like, oh hey, do you want to go and do this thing? And they haven't been a friend for very long, perhaps, or it's like a work thing, but it's not very serious, or it's just kind of like a flippant thing, and it would have been nice, but it's nicer to get home for baby bath time. Do you know what I mean? It's like that's where I'm throwing it up. Is a case of, or maybe I already feel like I've done it enough. Like I've done enough of the things that are required of me to maintain relationships, whether they're business or personal, professional or personal, and I've done what I needed to do. And spending time with Olivia, doing baby bath time, because I didn't see her very much, certainly when I was working full time, was more important.
Yeah, I definitely get that. And I mean, I can count on one hand the close friends I have that I would be willing to go out on a night out. And I do, it doesn't, like, even on LinkedIn, like colleagues that I haven't worked with for years might message me saying, oh, I'm in Edinburgh, do you fancy going for a pint? I'm like, I would like to, but my time's finite now. And I generally be honest and say, look, I've got to look after the kids or be at home or something. But yeah, there's definitely that thought process and decision making where is it better than being with your kids, and is it better being with your wife?
Here's a thing I've just actually remembered. So I'm a big fan of Casey Neistat, and thankfully he's actually uploaded 2 videos in a row, which I've thoroughly enjoyed. I think
he's coming back.
I hope so, Neil. I love it. Like, even though I met him in an elevator in Dubai and he pied me and he's a bit of a dick, I just love his content. I think it's absolutely fantastic, the way he does it, the way he story tells it. Anyway, long story short, basically he quoted one of your favorite authors, Ryan Holiday, and he quoted him saying that something I have diary anorexia. And the diary anorexica idea was, and there's other expansions of this, but the diary anorexia of Casey's priority was his vlog. It was like, every day I'm making a video. That is my absolute priority. And in fact, he went over and above his like wife and kids, which I can see, look at the position he's in now. It was obviously a very good investment, but I can definitely probably tell you, like you would say, the whole sort of family relationship and all that kind of stuff probably would have suffered a hell of a lot because of the fact that he put so much into it. But even more so, he would just not see friends. He just wouldn't have a coffee. Like, he wouldn't have can we just have a 5-minute coffee? No, my priority is my vlog. And that's a very firm decision. It's very much like that when you have a family, or I feel like since I've had a family, where it's like, no, Laura and Olivia are my priority. Like I said before, unless it's something like a vlog that's going to pay me dividends for years to come and set up my family and whatever else, then I'm not sacrificing that time. And in the sort of freelance world and just sort of assessing time overall, like I did that toggle tracking for a little while, casual coffees or casual sort of like chats with friends or going out or whatever else, it's not half an hour. It's not an hour. It's an hour either side. It's like 3 hours of your time is gone. So that decision-making aspect, again, it's kind of like, do I do it? Do I not do it? Well, I know now it's very defined since having children that it's a case of, nah, I'm going to have more fun with Olivia. I'm going to enjoy more time with her. I'm going to try enjoy more time with Laura because, again, we work and we've got a kid as well. Like, that cuts into your whole relationship and the time that you get together. So that's another thing that you prioritize.
There's also something for me and it comes back to something I mentioned before in a podcast, where like being selfish. So also being aware that you need time with those other, not family members, but friends, those close friends. You need time with those colleagues to build those relationships, and you need time on your own. So yeah, I guess it kind of ties in with decision making, but being selfish in terms of I'm going to go and do this Brewdog bike ride with James Watt. Never met him in my life, but it'll be a fun thing to do. My mental health will be better for it. My fitness will be better for it, and I'll have a good story to tell. Like,
you did have a good story to tell. It's one of the most watched YouTube videos.
It is
about Neil saving James Watt.
I've got a funny feeling that he listened to it.
Really?
So yeah, so he saw my story that I posted when I tagged him in it, and he liked my I did a Instagram post about the whole Brewdog Forest thing, and he liked it after I posted my podcast. So maybe he didn't listen to it, but he certainly saw he was on the podcast.
Well, here we go. Famous.
There's an interesting twist to this topic in terms of decision making for our kids. So you're not there yet. I mean, Olivia's not talking yet, and you can kind of guide her maybe in decisions, but not really. I've got a 7-year-old and 2 4-year-olds, and like every day they're trying to make decisions. Every day they're trying to do their own thing or be what's the word?
Reliant.
Yeah, self-reliant, independent, I guess is what I'm getting at. And yeah, like you read a lot of books about parenting and stuff, and a lot of the time it just recommends let them make the decision, but try and guide them. So an example I use most breakfasts actually, like not every morning, but most mornings they'd be like, oh, can I get some honey on my cereal, or can I get some Nutella on my toast, or something like that. And I was like, you can't today, but another day you can. But today I want you to try and choose something healthy and choose something that's going to fill you up and blah, blah. And also clothes. So a lot of other parents will lay their clothes out for their kids, and they might have a tantrum because they don't want to wear that t-shirt. And we're just like free for all. Like Isla knows where her uniform is. She can choose which one she wants to wear, and the boys get to wear what they want. And yeah, like choices and letting them decide, I think helps even day to day.
Don't you find there is a certain point where you're like, you know something is safer or better because you've got the hindsight of age. So there isn't a decision to be made. The decision will be made for you. So do you find that you have to find the healthy balance of allowing them to do whatever they want, but at the same time not eat an entire jar of Nutella for breakfast?
Yes, definitely, and explain the reasons why having a jar of Nutella for breakfast isn't good, and also there's also times every day, pretty much. There's things that one of them might do, like I want to jump off this, or I can't think of an example off the top of my head, but you know they're going to fail. You know they might hurt themselves. It's not going to be life or death. They might have a bump or bang their head or something, but letting them do it just so they can learn the lesson, I think.
So it's like, here's a 10-foot wall. I want to jump off this, and I know you're going to break your ankles, but I'm going to take you to hospital and spend 16 hours in a queue trying to get it sorted. But it's like that is part of it, right? That's part of the thing where you, as an adult and as a 31-year-old man, have so much more hindsight on what's right, wrong, and indifferent. And yeah, helping your kids make that decision, sure, but there's probably an autocratic aspect of this where you're like, nah, mate, it's not happening. And you don't have to give a reason. Yeah,
so one example actually recently was he wanted to fill he had a tiny espresso cup, and he wanted to fill it with milk. I was going to do it for him, but I was like, no, I'll let you do it. And milk didn't go everywhere, but there was a mess. And it's just that kind of, learning process. I think people or parents wrap their kids in bubble wrap too much, do everything for them, and I don't know where I'm going with this, but just let them do things. And if they fail or if it causes something, as long as it's not life or death, then I think that's okay.
Oh yeah, like I've got no qualms in that. Like Olivia at the moment, because she started to walk and whatnot, and I think general medical guidance is if they fall off something that's taller than them, then it may be something that's quite serious, like if they bang their head or whatnot. But if the thing is not as tall as them, then they'll probably be all right. So she's like climbing up on the sofas now. She'll climb up on the chairs and all that kind of thing. And, she does the usual kind of, she looks around and he goes, oh, I'll pick, as if she wants you to pick her up and put her on it. But I know she can climb on it. So I'm like, no. And then, she'll climb on and, she'll get close to falling off or like whatever else. She doesn't fall off. I don't let her do that. But at the same time, I'm just kind of like, nah, like you can do it, like carry on. Or if she stands up and she falls over, which she does, like I'm not there like tending to her little moan and her cry. Like Laura thinks I'm really brutal, but at the same time, it's kind of like, no, I'm letting her realize that it's not a big deal. It's not something that she should be worried about. She's not hurt herself. She doesn't need my attention all of the time. She can look after herself. And I guess as a decision as a parent, I think as a combination of parents, it's kind of, I guess it's good to have a bit of both. Like Laura's obviously very compassionate and very empathetic and very understanding and loves her baby as much as I do. But she does it in a way in which it's perhaps much more soothing than my kind of slightly more brutal, masculine Gordon type of attitude where it's like, nah, dust yourself off, mate, get up, come on.
Yeah, I mean, there's a few, I think Ryan Holiday mentioned twice now in the podcast, he mentions that it's good to have two different parenting styles, because if you had the same parenting style, then kids wouldn't learn, kids wouldn't have the kind of the hot or the colds, depending on how they are and stuff, and it's quite good for their development as well to have two parents that parent differently. One thing I try and get with Isla is, now she's a bit older, that there's consequences to things. So this is kind of around this is a bit of a random kind of off topic kind of, but so if she wants to watch some TV before she goes to school, or if I ask her to go and clean her teeth, or I want to clean her teeth and she doesn't come, then the consequence is that we're going to be late. So I don't kind of hound her and like chase her around the house trying to get her teeth cleaned. I just sit there and say, look, the longer you take, we're going to be late for school. You're going to have to go in through reception, and it's not going to be that nice experience, because she doesn't like doing that. And I don't know, letting her know that there's a consequence to her actions, and that if she plays around and doesn't get her teeth cleaned, she's going to be late. I'm not going to raise my voice. I'm not going to ponder to her, but making her aware that the actions she has will inevitably have consequences.
Do you think though that part of that, what you're doing there is, I don't disagree with what you're doing, I think it's a good idea, but do you think part of that is because you don't really give a shit what other parents think about you if you're late? Like, you as the adult, okay, you're in control of the situation, Neil. Okay, you can get Isla into school on time by negotiation or by force, right? If you were to literally carry Rebecca to work to the front door and dump her down and go
Isla, but yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm saying is from an adult perspective.
Okay.
If you were literally to pick up Rebecca, take her to the Junket Cafe, throw her through the door, not quite throw, but push her through the door, you would be seen as abuse. But if it's get your kid to school on time, it would be seen as perfectly normal. But then you'd look right in front of the parents because you managed to get your kid to school on time, and the teachers would think you're okay. But it sounds like you don't give a shit about whether or not someone's judging you from the outside. You're just like, nah, mate, I'm going to teach my daughter a good lesson in the consequences of her actions and her choices.
Yeah, no, I think you're spot on. And also another thing about her getting ready for school is whether this is, she's watched me getting ready for work. I normally get my bag ready the night before and lay out my stuff if I'm going to the office. She now does that. So every night before bed, she will get her PE kit ready, or she'll put her snack in her bag, or she'll fill up her water bottle. And yeah, I don't know, it's quite a good skill that I've managed to teach her, is like just being organised is important.
The other aspect of it that came to mind in terms of decision making, I think we mentioned it in the podcast last time, was like dads don't really buy it, or I don't buy myself stuff that often these days. And it's certainly more of a considered purchase when it's my personal expenses, not necessarily my business expenses, but my personal expenses are much more considered now. Maybe that's because you've got the cost of living crisis that's going on, or a discussion of it, and the increase in like energy bills and all that kind of thing. But at the same time, I usually buy, there's a particular type of jeans that I'd buy, but they're about 150 quid, I think, give or take, which is expensive. But I'll buy two of them every maybe 3 years, maybe every 4 years, because they last quite long. They fit me really well. But now I'm kind of like, nah, I could actually just spend 60 quid, 70 quid and get like a cheaper pair of jeans. I don't know. Have your like financial decisions on things like changed since you had kids? Do you think about money not because it's going out more, which it inevitably does, because childcare is going to start hitting me at £600 a month, which is great. Can't wait. Can't wait to spend £600 on someone
else looking after your child.
So, do you think that, monetary choices have changed quite a bit in terms of how you spend or how you look at money and that kind of thing?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. If I look at the big purchases I've had recently, they're very, very few and far between, and we generally wait. So Rebecca and I are quite good at waiting for our birthdays or our Christmases if we want something that's just maybe not a requirement. So if it's new clothes and stuff, and holes in clothes, and you need a new jacket because it's raining now or whatever, we'll buy it. But if it's a bit of a luxury item, then we generally wait for Christmas. There's probably a point where it's nice to treat yourself on occasion. So tomorrow I'm picking up the new iPhone, which it's been 4.5 years since I've bought a new iPhone. Never really pre-ordered one or got it on launch day. So very excited about that. And yeah, just little things like that make you, I don't know, it feels great, like being able to have the ability to do that. And yeah, so I guess what I'm getting at is, have my decisions changed? Definitely. It's much more few and far between, but when it happens, it feels really good.
Fair enough. Yeah, I don't know how much my decisions have changed, but largely I think around, well, certainly around practicality aspects when it comes to spending money. Like the car that I would own now or the next car I'll buy will certainly not be the one that I want. Like it's not going to be. I'm in
that camp. I drive a bus.
Yeah, like it's not. I'm not going to buy a nice, sports car with 2 seats because I need, enough space to fit two in it, and the fuel cost and all that kind of thing is definitely a large consideration. But I think it also drops a little bit in terms of my desire for luxury goods compared to what they used to be, because like, who are you trying to impress? I've got a kid. Like I can impress Olivia with a trick that no one finds funny at all. But I can just use, like, we can play with things like, God, I give her like a bit of paper or a box and she's infatuated with it and playing with me and all that kind of stuff. It's not the materialistic items that I possess that she wants. It's my time and attention and love. And it can be literally anything in front of her, regardless if it's shiny or it's not. She'd enjoy playing with it and playing with me with it. So I guess that makes my decision making a bit different in that, yeah, I guess I don't really kind of desire luxury goods anymore. And I think decisions also changed from a money perspective because just outgoings are so much higher when you have a kid. They dramatically jump like real quick, from buying £900 prams to £250 car seats to inserts or things for the bloody rotating car seat, 150 quid, whatever. Then it's clothes, and then, the inevitable, food, kind of. Yeah, kind of. She doesn't eat that much. But it's the inevitable increase on, the micro purchases that go on a daily basis because you've got friggin' Amazon on your phone and it's like £3 book here, £4 book there, a little toy there, needs a vest there, needs a jacket here, needs a pair of bloody trainers. It's a never-ending sort of road. So I think you just end up like changing your mindset in how you spend because you're like, I don't actually have that much money anymore. When I was 25, I had a massive disposable income, but now like I'm lucky if I have anything left at the end of the month.
Yeah, like I don't know. I mentioned that I got my promotion, and you look back like 5 years ago, I was earning X. Now I'm earning this. It's awesome. Like the growth is amazing. But my kids are also eating more. They're also getting bigger. They also need school things. There's after school clubs. I was going on a brownies trip on Saturday, which is cost money. Like there's so much to decide and think about in terms of where your money goes. And generally, I mean, I want my kids to have a active and outgoing life, and I'd rather I maybe buy something from Next or Primark rather than name luxury brand in here, Louis Vuitton, don't know. Then
I don't think you've ever owned anything that's luxury brand, Neil.
my watch.
Clothes?
Yeah, clothes I don't think I have.
Because I even tried to take you shopping for a nice t-shirt and a jumper or something, and you just weren't keen.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I've got a Jack Wolfskin jacket, which it's not very luxury, but it was very, very expensive.
I'd still say that's pretty basic, if I'm honest, compared to what you can get in London.
No, yeah, okay, I get that, but it was expensive. I just don't see the point. And anyway, now I've got 3 kids, and I'd much rather them have the experiences. So we don't dress them in luxury goods. There's no point, because in 3 months' time they'll be growing out of them.
Because you talked about like that £6 earlier about the whole charity aspect. It's like if I'm spending it on myself, then does that mean that my kid doesn't get something else? Probably not. That's probably not the case necessarily. But certainly if you're spending a lot of money already and you don't have that much of a disposable income, you're probably just not going to go as far, right? And every parent's going to go through that, where they just won't spend something because they know it's either better off in the long term for their kid, or they can go off and do something with their kid rather than a £500 jacket.
I mean, there's definitely like getting the latest iPhone is a luxury, and I'm very grateful to have the ability to do that. But there's a guilt to it, and there's like that money could be going somewhere else, or that money could be spent on something else. But I think it's not like I do it often. It's been 4.5 years since I upgraded my phone. I can't remember the last time I bought or spent that money on something. So I feel okay with it because I don't do it often, and it makes me feel
I'm
good.
okay. I'm okay with that kind of stuff, Neil. Like whenever it comes to an item that you use every single day, I'd rather spend 50 to 100% more on it if I can afford it, because it's like cost per wear, right? Cost per use. Yeah. If you buy something and you use it once, that's when it's been a waste of money. Like the coffee machine that I think Laura got a tax rebate, I think during COVID or whatever it was, and the coffee machine I think was like a Sage Barista Pro thing. I say it like I don't know what it is. I've researched it for months, but it was expensive. It was a few £100. It was not cheap, and that was a luxury item. But we literally use that coffee machine every single day since we bought it, and it's maybe 1.5 2 years old, and that's a good investment, I think, because I've used it every day. We've got a lot of pleasure from it. The same thing with like my phone. So the phone, obviously I buy it through my business. My laptop, I'll spend like this laptop I'm filming on now is a top end spec MacBook Pro, which cost a lot of money. But if it means that I'm fundamentally going to like repay that very quickly, if I can edit things faster, I get more pleasure on it because I use it every day. Yeah, like that's always been something for me. I even said that with Laura. Like I used to get quite annoyed because she'd buy like H&M all the time and Zara and all that kind of thing. This is way off the decision making thing, but H&M and Zara and all that kind of stuff. I was like, I'd rather spend quite considerably or quite a bit more on an item that you'll keep for 10 years. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. And for sure.
I guess that wasn't necessarily just after having kids, but there's part of that is as well where I'd rather just get things that I know I'm going to use, rather than this is just for like one off or whatever else. It's definitely something that I'm going to use on a very regular basis. Unless, Neil, you decide to show your phone to your little boys or Isla and they drop it the first day you get it. That would be great, wouldn't it? Yeah.
Well, I mean, Apple have come out with an advert actually saying it's okay to drop this new iPhone because it's apparently meant to be the strongest iPhone they've ever made in their life. So we'll see.
Well, let's not test that, Neil. I think that would be foolish.
But I am looking forward to the cameras. They're looking pretty sick.
It is. Like I've got the 13 Pro Maxi Jobby, and it's fantastic. I love it. I think it's great. But I usually go through like same as you, every 3 years or every 4 years or whatever else. I'll buy another phone. I'm not so keen on upgrading all the time. Just doesn't make sense, does it?
Yeah, this is totally off topic. But the reason I kind of went down that route is I do a lot of outdoorsy stuff in mountains, no phone signal, and this phone's got satellite emergency services.
Very good. Look at you, Neil. Just in case you pass out, like you have done previously, but this time it was at home, so it'll be all right. Oh, yeah. If you go way back onto our podcast stuff.
Episode 9 or something.
Is there any other kind of decisions you can think of off the top of your head before we close off the podcast today that kind of changed since having kids? Like the way that you've thought about things or made decisions on things? The silence tells us that Neil's think you can actually hear his brain.
I know we've covered things like cars.
Alcohol. Alcohol's probably the biggest one at the end to end this podcast is where it's just not worth it. Like looking after kids hungover.
Yeah.
Back in the day, I could just carry on, just keep going, keep drinking. Who cares? Doesn't matter. I'll be hungover the next day. But now, I can't think of a day that I've been hungover or particularly like rough, like really rough when I've had Olivia. I don't think I've had one. I've had one or two where I've had a few drinks and I haven't slept very well and I'm a bit tired, but it's not like, back in the day hungover when you're like, I can't even get out of the house.
Yeah, I mean, I've been out on a few stag do's and come back. And it's always the day you come back, you're just like your stag do, and I didn't have kids in my stag, but your stag do I had the boys and Isla.
Yeah, that was a good stag do.
Anyway, on that note, Riverside has worked, Gordon. Got a full episode.
Unbelievable, right? So if anyone wants to invest in Riverside shares, then by all means, crack on. But no, we have survived, Neil, and since I introduced it in such a happy-go-lucky manner, why don't we let you close it out? I think you should keep your hair. If anyone thinks we should keep Neil's hair as it is, check it out on YouTube and let us know if we think
needs a cut.
Nah, keep growing it out. See how long it goes, Neil.
Anyway, thanks for listening to episode number 40. As Gordon got excited at the start, there's 40 weeks we've been doing this, which is awesome. You can find us on Instagram, which is not updated that much. You can find us on all your podcasting platforms. Apple and Spotify seem to be the top. And on YouTube. So our YouTube views seem to be climbing up slowly, which is interesting.
Incredible titles come up about me, I think. The YouTube master.
Yeah, whatever. Anyway, hope we're filming this on a Thursday. Gets released on a Monday. So hope you have a great week. Enjoy it. And see you in episode 41.
Can't wait, Neil. See you all then. To the 2.5 listeners. Peace.